Every election in India looks like a scoreboard. Numbers are everywhere. Vote share, turnout, seat count, who's ahead, who's out. But there's one number that never makes it to the screen. The real cost of fighting elections. Not what the candidates officially declare and not even what shows up in the affidavits, but the actual money that moves through the system quietly, systematically, and often invisibly. Now, on paper, elections in India appear tightly regulated. The Election Commission of India prescribes clear limits on how much a candidate can spend. For assembly elections, this cap is at 40 lakhs per candidate, and every rupee is supposed to be recorded and audited. But on the ground, it operates very differently. Now sample this. In several southern states, the actual spending by a serious candidate is often in the range of 20 to 30 crores for a single assembly constituency. And when you start looking closely, this isn't an exception. It's structured and deeply embedded into how elections are fought in India. Let me explain. Before I break down these election budgets, a quick reality check. I'm going to tell you about how crores are spent by political parties like it's loose change. But we don't have that kind of money. At the News Minute, we don't take ads or funding from governments, from political parties, or even their leaders. Which means no one is bankrolling this coverage, except of course you. And unlike election spending, ours is fully accounted for. You can contribute to our election fund and help us doing journalism that really matters. So scan the QR code on your screen and contribute to our election fund so more of our reporters can hit the ground and bring you reports. So political parties don't look at voters as one big group. They break them down mostly into three broad categories. There are those who will vote for them no matter what. There are those who will never vote for them. And then there is a third group, the undecided voters. A large part of the campaign money is directed towards this third group. At the same time, some money is also spent on making sure that loyal supporters don't stay at home on the polling day. Across southern states, certain patterns keep repeating themselves. Money is usually distributed in the last 2 days before the voting, close enough for voters to remember who gave them the money. But not all money reaches the voters. Many politicians I spoke to said that at best 80% is delivered, while 20% is siphoned off. Then there's also a clear rural-urban divide. In rural areas where networks are easier to track, distribution can reach up to 80% of the voters. In cities, it drops sharply, around 25 to 40% only, partly because turnout is lower and also because the middle-class voters are less likely to participate in these exchanges. Then comes the big question: where does all this money come from? Candidates rarely fund their own campaigns. In cities like Bengaluru or Hyderabad, they put in just about 30% of the total cost. The remaining 70% comes from elsewhere. Real estate players are among the biggest contributors in big cities. In industrial regions like Coimbatore and Visakhapatnam, funding often comes from small and medium enterprises, traders, and manufacturing units. Other contributors include construction companies, mill owners, and pharmaceutical firms, depending on what the local economy is. Now, these contributions are closely tied to expectations. People want easier approvals, access, and fewer regulatory problems. And in the case of construction firms, they want something even more specific: contracts, roads, dams, big projects. Funding can get even more strategic. Leaders who aspire to become ministers may finance others. Sometimes they cover 6 to 7 seats within a region. And in turn, they expect loyalty from these MLAs. And the scale? Well, in states like Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, and Telangana, a serious or a rich candidate can spend around 30 crores on a single assembly election. That's often more than what a Lok Sabha candidate spends across 2 elections in many northern states. In fact, for some candidates, contesting itself can be profitable. There are cases where candidates recovered large parts of their spending through business networks alone. Sometimes they even make a return of 15 to 20 crores just by contesting. Now, once you see the scale, the next question is obvious. How is this money actually used? Because this isn't chaotic spending. It's planned, timed, and data-driven. Let's look at Tamil Nadu, for example. Internal surveys suggest that even late in the campaign, around 20 to 40% of the voters can remain undecided. So the final stretch becomes crucial. The last 20 days are when the spending completely shoots up. Payments vary, generally in rural areas around 1,500 rupees per vote. In cities, it's closer to 2,500. Now, these rates can increase. When? That depends on how rich the candidate is, whether they have been parachuted from another place, or if the margins are too thin. The rates can go higher even if the place itself is comparatively affluent, like Coimbatore or Karur. And many political analysts will tell you it's just not possible to give bribes in every seat. There are strategic calls made on which seat, how many people should be given this bribe, and many other such factors. Parties also pay local influencers. These are people who can influence a small set of voters. In Karnataka's Old Mysuru region, which has 61 constituencies, payments are often made per household and not per voter exactly. A family might receive 15,000 to 20,000 in one go. And there is an understanding. The head of the family, who's the head of the household, ensures that everybody votes and everybody votes to the party that has paid the money. In tightly contested seats, the rates may go up, of course. In places like Mandya, Hassan, Mysuru, it can reach up to 4,000 rupees per voter. And in high-stakes battles, this could go up even more. There have been instances where segments of voters were paid as much as 15,000. In North Karnataka, cash is lower. It usually ranges around 500 to 1,500 rupees, but that's often balanced with alcohol distribution. Cities like Bengaluru follow another model: cash plus gift vouchers. So usually it's around 3,500 to 5,000 rupees in cash and vouchers worth 5,000 to 10,000 per household. And you can buy electronics, household items, clothes, anything with this voucher. I was told that in the Chamundeshwari constituency, where both the BJP and JDS worked together in 2018 to defeat Siddaramaiah, voters were paid up to 15,000 rupees in some cases. And mind you, all parties pay here. Then there is the machinery behind all these campaigns, primarily booth workers who ensure last-mile connectivity. One big spending for all parties is this. These payments can be anywhere between 300 rupees to 2,000 rupees per day, and this depends upon the place. This comes along with food and travel reimbursements. These payments are made over a period of 30 to 45 days leading up to the election. In Andhra and Telangana, the scale of operations is way more extensive. Each constituency typically has around 250 booths, and campaigning is organized around them in a highly structured manner. Booth workers conduct door-to-door campaigns in 4 rounds during the last 25 days, and usually one round is around 3 to 4 days. Since they do this as teams, the team is paid together. And when candidates visit villages, there's another expectation. Candidates are often expected to promise small projects funded from their own pocket. This is personal money. A crematorium, a water plant, a temple renovation, anything. And that could be anywhere around 10 to 15 lakhs per village. Now multiply that across dozens of villages, and that number quickly runs into crores. We are given to understand that in these 2 states, usually one constituency has around 50 villages. So you do the math. Now, polling agents in both Telugu states are also paid significant amounts, around 20,000 rupees in critical constituencies and 10,000 in less competitive ones. Then direct payment to voters also follow a pattern. Voters may receive between 1,500 to 2,500 rupees when the party is in opposition and around 4,000 when the party is in ruling. Now, Kerala stands out as a relative exception. Paying voters is not as widespread, and such instances are relatively rare. In some hilly areas where access is difficult, voters may be paid between 500 to 2,000 rupees. Outside of these contexts, one of the most notable instances was during the 2024 Lok Sabha elections in Thiruvananthapuram constituency, where around 3,500 rupees was reportedly distributed to a section of the voters. Now, apart from all this, there is the rally expenditure. Most times, people have to be brought to these rallies. Transport, food, and other small gifts have to be arranged with or without money. But in most instances, people who attend these rallies are also paid somewhere between 500 to 5,000 per day. Then the flex sports, the events, the road shows, you can imagine how much money is spent. Remember what I told you at the beginning about the Election Commission's cap, that is 40 lakh rupees? Now you can do the math and laugh at it.